So I'm gonna have you guys see this first before I actually start my video, okay? But that was a female cannabis plant. I got inside because today's actually raining. And this is the male cannabis plant, okay? I planted these from seeds. They're beautiful. This is the other female. And she's actually a little bit more of a late bloomer than the other one, but she's beautiful. You could tell by the colors. But I'll get to the point of this video right now, as soon as I get into my office. Alright, so there's a couple of things I'm going to talk about here, alright? And the reason why is because, you know, I get asked questions. So what I do is I make a video so I can respond to certain things that I want to talk about. So, for example, like I made a few friends out here and everything, and you know, they look at my cannabis plant, and the first thing they ask me is how much am I going to be selling? And I'm not going to lie, none of that came to mind. None of that came to mind in the fact that, because even my own girl was telling me that, you know, she has people that want to buy and stuff like that. But all right, these plants, for example, the marijuana plant, it's I don't smoke weed. You know, I haven't smoked weed for a long. I used to smoke a little bit when I was younger, but not recently. And you know, I happened to start gardening, so I happened to get my hands on some cannabis seeds, and they happened to just it's so funny because I was talking to my girl, and I told her, I'm like, you know, the cannabis plant must be a cool plant to grow, and she happens to smoke weed, so she got her hands on a few seeds from the dime that she was smoking. And then I was like, all right, let me just give it a try. Now, mind you, I did absolutely no research at all. I just took the seeds, put them in dirt, all right? And I was just like, let's see what happens, okay? Now, one thing to note is that all my plants, I mean, I make orgonite. So all my plants have, you know, quartz crystals, orgonite, and, you know, I basically play around with this, the energy, okay? Every area that you live in has an energy, all right? I happen to be down here in the South, in the state of North Carolina. There's a certain energy here, but you see, whether the energy will be favorable or unfavorable, or what you would consider favorable or unfavorable, you use the energy and transmute it to whatever you want it to be favorable for. So you're making it happen. I'm going to show you guys. It's raining outside, but it don't matter. But I'm going to show you guys something. So this right here is basically a tree, and this is a charging plate. See, I'll have them in random places. You could even see a coil there. There's a quartz crystal there, and it's wired in copper coil. Okay, you can see it's actually a charging plate. I have a few of them where I actually charge some food inside. Okay, now this, for example, happens to be a blackberry and another blackberry there. Okay, believe it or not, these are avocados. Okay, those are avocados. Okay, now this cannabis plant has orgonite. This is the pods. Okay, I had quartz crystals on this one, but I bought them inside. This is one of my cuttings, a blackberry vine cutting. Also with this one, another blackberry vine cutting. This one, I even designed it where there's a piece of copper wire, it's coiled inside, but the piece is coming out. And the reason why is this is basically harnessing energy in. I put all different types of stuff in here as far as like organic, inorganic. You can see another coil in there. All right. And I do all these by hand. I'm also going to get to the point, and I might do it in this video or in another one. I haven't decided. It's basically, I'll go by the feeling. These are the pineapples from cutting. Okay, I've put these in videos. They're enormous. The only thing we need to do is wait for them to fruit. All right. So I don't garden, for example, to see. I garden to I've ate my own food. Okay. Now, when it comes to the gardening, okay, I have a certain connection with the plants. You see, people talk about become one with nature. Then the first thing they want to do is go and live in nature, go live in a jungle, in the woods and whatnot. And you see, I got asked question also about, shamans who live in the woods and whatnot. Everybody has their own spiritual path. That's not, because in actuality, everybody's here and you're playing a role. You know what I mean? And this is part of getting to know yourself. What role are you meant to play here? You know what I mean? It's not for you to, just because you see shamans and they're enlightened, you think that you have to go into the woods to go be a shaman and you're going to be enlightened. That might not be the path for you to follow to be enlightened. You may need to do other things. Okay? You see, I moved out of the state of New York. The reason I moved out of the state of New York was for the simple fact that I was trying to minimize my bills a bit. All right? So that I didn't have to have that type of stress in my life. You know what I mean? And let me tell you something. The expenses are so high in New York that you can have a really chunky savings account. And me, for example, I was under the unfortunate thing where I got laid off from work from the supplement company, not from my performance or anything like that. Just the company just took a downhill. And it happens, you know what I mean? Certain things happen, but I was also very grateful for the fact that happened, because I may have been stuck. I started, and here's the thing, everything happens for a reason. I was during the last months, this is where I started to go through this spiritual awakening that I'm going through, okay? And all of my time, okay? All of my passion, all of my energy was going toward empowering that system, which is my job, that company. Okay. Now, somebody told me, you're worth whatever you think you're worth. I know what I'm worth. I know what I can do. I have the credentials. You see what I'm saying? I have the credentials. I've met, and you see, I haven't even when you think of manager, you think of a manager in a store. I was in a store manager. I was a market manager where I was running I was running all the GNCs and all the vitamin shops pretty much in the New York area, up in the Northeast. Okay, so I wasn't a store manager in a store. I was in charge of training, developing. I was running demo teams in different areas of New York and all of the boroughs up north. Okay, so here's the thing though. I made a switch where when I came down here, I was still going through this whole thing, and I said, and I started to get into the car business, which was something that when and I'm going through this path where I'm trying to learn and I'm trying to, just I can't even explain it. You just try to advance in your journey somehow. But every time that I worked, I was working 50 hours a week, and then outside of work, you have to still promote yourself. You know what I mean? You still got to promote yourself. You still got to, because this is where your clientele comes in. So you're basically you're like a hoe. You know what I'm saying? Not only are you under the clock, okay, and getting paid, but you still got to work outside of your job where you're not under the clock and still promote yourself and still talk about your job just to get clients so that when you're under the clock, you can make more money. Because there's all competition out here, you know what I mean? When you're in the car business especially, it's all competition. It's about how you build your clientele. So, and then when I got back to doing what I was doing, it wasn't the same. I'm telling you, it's not the same feeling. You would have to just do it yourself for you to know what I'm talking about. All right, you need like the time for yourself. And the thing is that it's all left brain. They talk about a balance. Yeah, the balance is where you have to use your left brain to actually know how to properly use your ego here in this realm, but not to go and put all your time into a system, a business. You see, system management. I managed all these systems up there in the north. So I was managing systems in common, which were people like me. I was managing those people, okay, which is energy. Everything outside of you is energy. The business is an energy. That's a system, but I was running that system. That's not a system in common to me. That's a system that was a tool for me where I was acquiring money to be able to live in this realm comfortably. All right. And here's the thing though. If I'm managing those systems, okay, now I need time for this system because you see, you're in a system within a system within a system. Okay, that's why you have and now the money, okay, is another system. But a lot of people go and try to chase that system. You get what I'm saying? When in actuality, let's say when I was working up north and I was managing, okay, the money wasn't on my mind. I was doing my work. And the money was just coming into my bank account. And it was a pretty hefty amount of money that was coming into my bank account, especially in the form of bonuses and all that. Okay? But I wasn't going. See, there's people who hustle, right? And they have the mentality of hustling, like selling drugs, because they're chasing the money. They're going and hustling to make money, right? Now, that's not necessarily system management the way I was doing it in the business world. But when you go to school to learn how to earn a paycheck. And if you look at the word paycheck, it's like they're checking what you're getting paid because that's how they tax you. Notice how when you work off the books, they can't tax that money, but they don't want you working off the books. And they still want you to claim your taxes at the end of the year if you're off the books, because if not, then you get a penalty. So that's what a paycheck is, and you learn to be an employee. So here's the thing though. If I already went to school, I went to college, I pretty much did all this out here. See, I have the credentials. I know what I'm doing now. So I'm able to downgrade. See, I lowered my position now for that reason. I lowered my position because I want time to empower myself now and work within this system. But now it's my responsibility to do something with this time that I have given myself because it's my time. See, I gave myself this time. Now it's my responsibility to do something with this time, extra time that I gave myself. How am I investing this time? To better myself. Because if I better myself, the energy will just start flowing to me. But a lot of the times, you see, when you do, let's say if you do spiritual work, all right, you're working with certain energies, certain deities, certain spirits. Those are energies. Okay? But what do? Right? You try to work with these energies, but you see, these energies are working for you. And it's the same thing with money. Money is energy. That's why it's called a monetary system. Money is another system. It's just a system that you have to put to work for you. See, when I was managing, okay, I managed all the stores, which was systems. I managed the company, but it wasn't my company. It's not my company. I was still an employee. I was just at a higher level employee. I was a higher level slave. That's all it was. So what did I do? I demoted myself to a lower level slave so that I can master being my own CEO. See, they didn't teach me how to be a CEO in school. They didn't teach me that. So what am I doing? I'm going to learn it on my own. See, just like everything else outside of you, you can't learn certain things outside of you. You can learn certain things out. Because listen, here's the thing though. It wasn't bad that I went to school and did all that because I now have the knowledge of how that works and I apply that to my spiritual work. Now I'm putting different, see, because certain people will just think even small level when they're working with energies and stuff like that. They'll just work on like equivalent to you just being a store manager. No, I'm thinking big level. The same way I managed systems outside of me in a large scale, because I was even in charge of international sales. You could go on my Instagram. I talked in front of thousands of people in Mexico in Spanish. So this is what I'm doing energetically. I'm doing it exactly like that. I'm expanding my imagination, not just globally, but galactically. And that's how everybody should just try to, their imagination is what you are. Basically, your imagination is your strongest thing that you have. What limitations do you have in your imagination? And then after that, here's the thing though, is you don't even think about it. You don't think about it. After you know you did something, you just don't think about it because you know you have faith. See, the faith, they want you to put the faith in religion, faith in things outside of you, right? But how much faith do you have in yourself? See, this is why religion is so popular and manipulative, because they want your faith in the religious system and in God. But when you invert that and turn that into you, it's a game changer. It really is a game changer. And you're a lot stronger. You see, you harness your energy. With great energy, great power. And with great power comes strength. And you got to understand something. As you're evolving, you may lose certain things. You may lose certain people in your life. This is where you're going to need that strength that you gained with all that work you did. With awareness and knowledge of certain things, you have to be aware of the fact that you'll know that certain things need to just play out. See, certain things you could control, certain things you cannot. If you try to control them, you're just creating resistance and you're getting in the way of something that is going to actually help you evolve. So was I mad that I lost my job? No, I was not. I wasn't mad. But everything's a tool. Everything's a tool. Now with the money, for example, with the plants. See, you know what people do? They try to stress the plant out, because there's certain people who were giving me advice also when I showed them the plant and stuff. Not because I invited some people over to my house and they're telling me, yeah, if you poke a little hole in the stem, or if you do certain things, it stresses the plant out. It forces it to produce. You see, here's the funny thing. There was something in me that was telling me I don't want to stress my plant out. I wanted to just grow. See, a lot of people use grow tents. A lot of people use these fucking LED lights, all these things. And if you go on YouTube, you'll see a bunch of things that people do. Oh, you started off in this seed starter, then you put it in this pot, then you change the thing. Listen, all I do is just put it in soil and left it in the sun, and that's it. And they're beautiful. They're green. They're lush. I gave them a little bit of plant food, and that's it. I must have repotted it only once to just freshen up the soil, because they suck up all the nutrients out of the soil. I bought a really good quality soil and mixed it with my own composted soil. My own compost soil, which I put all my food scraps in, and then, you know, all that created the worms to come, the worm casting, which is black gold for a gardener. I put, coffee grounds. I put the Epsom salt, all that is pH manipulation in there, because the coffee makes it the soil acidic, and then that's going to also add the nitrogen, so it made it more lush. But then there's moments where you got to balance it out with, Epsom salt and stuff like that. And let me tell you something. Here's the funny part. I didn't look at anything online. I will tell you this straight up. I did not look up none of this shit online. I may have breezed through a couple of things that gave me a little bit of information. But as far as even pruning, I mentioned it before. Become one with nature at a small level. I became one with nature in my garden. See, I didn't even know how to prune these. For some reason, once you start pruning them, you just know where to go. You go into a meditative state and you just know where to go. Now, I energetically connected with this plant. So I'm planning to use this plant. So I'm having a lot of respect for this plant. For me to have to, you see, when you want to stress the plant out, it's good. Okay? It's good to stress plants out to help them grow and become stronger. Like sometimes when you prune them, okay? Or let's say if you top them off, it actually makes the stem stronger. It makes the trunk stronger. Their stability becomes stronger. But in the intention to stress it out, just to make it produce more so you can sell more marijuana, or to make it produce faster. You see what I'm saying? There's a difference. And these are the type of stresses that we go through every day. You see, do you think that the stress of having to pay bills and having all these problems in your relationship because of money sometimes, do you think that's normal? Or let's say if you go under the stress of like when you work out, you see the two different stresses. Like when you stress the body out in one way, you make the body stronger. But if you stress the body out in other ways because of money, you become weaker. The plant, okay, yeah, it's going to produce more for you, but this is energetically. This is what I'm talking about. And then some people, when they smoke weed, they're like, is weed good to, connect spiritually and whatnot? But you didn't think about how the plant, the same way the animal, okay, the same way the animal in the wild, all right, when it's in survival state, or is it locked up in what do you call that? In the slaughterhouse, going through the stresses, being locked up and getting butchered, getting their younglings taken away, getting injected with hormones and steroids and all that, right? You see what I'm saying? So the plant, okay, did you think about the process of what the plant went through the entire time? The person who actually processed it, cut it, dried it, and did all that, their intention was maybe it was the intention, oh, I'm getting fat buds, get more money. You know what I'm saying? And then when somebody smokes it, all right, what is the vibration of that plant? What if you're vibrating higher than the plant? How do you think the plant's going to make you feel? The plant will bring you down. But if the plant is vibrating higher than you, and you take it and you smoke it, then of course you're going to be high. How is it that some people get high, right? And then they get but not only that, notice what happens. They get hungry. Why is that? The munchies, they call it. Could it be that the person who was making the weed had that hunger of money in mind? You know, these are just theories I'm picking up. I mean, hey, I'm just talking. But these are all things that can make you think of everything. You could trace it back as far as you can. But there's nothing more beautiful than making things happen for yourself. When you do things yourself. Gardening is something that I started doing myself. Okay? Growing my own food. Okay? And I don't need to eat that much. You get what I'm saying? Now, I demoted myself in the business world to learn or empower myself to actually be able to use these systems more to my advantage rather than me having to go work for them. You see, when you do spiritual work, right? You do your rituals and then you have to align yourself by doing the work, right? So what you do is you basically are doing the work out here, but for it to benefit you so that you can empower others. That's how I'm doing it. That's how I feel good doing. All right. Now, this video is going to probably cut off because I see that the time is shorter. So if it does, I'll tie in some other information if I think of anything on a part 2. But I'll stop it right here. I mean, I'll stop it right here, and then I'll cover some other things in another part 2. But like, share, and subscribe, and that would be the beautiful way of returning something to whatever you watch. Is basically just commenting, liking the video if you do. And if you don't, that's still all good too. But we'll talk soon.